YouTube? What's up? What's up? Again, this video, this live stream is kind of just meant to be more audio than visual. Um, so just bear with me there. It's actually just gonna cover it up because it really doesn't. I don't really need video. YouTube needs they need an audio only option. But anyway, what's up, guys? Hopefully you enjoyed the latest upload. If you haven't taken a listen to it yet, just go check it out. I uploaded it about an hour or so ago, maybe. And the title of that video was, I think it was titled, "What reality do you choose to live in?" And the key word in that phrase was choose. What reality do you choose to live in? Because we as people, especially from many different backgrounds and cultures, we are very intelligent people. We see the world in many different perspectives. We can see others' perspectives. We live our perspectives all the time. So usually people tend to do one or two things. Well, I say one or two things, more like three. They either choose to live in their own reality. And when I say your own reality, I mean the reality that is the reality belonging to your ethnic group. And what I mean by that, it's very fair to say that, because every ethnic group has their individual or cultural struggles in this country that hinder or present itself as obstacles in their lives for them to become successful and whatnot. You can become very successful by staying in your own and living in your own reality. You can. But there's choices. Some people choose to either stay in their reality, make the best of it, and be successful at it. Some people decide that they see other realities, other perspectives of realities that ultimately look better than what they have or what they're living, and they choose to find a way to live in that reality. Or you got people that choose to not see any sides, and they choose to kind of just float along life, being like the sympathizer. So whoever they come across, they adopt that notion, or they adopt that perspective in order to not cause trouble, and in order to remain neutral. And that's what some people do. So check out that video. Like I said, it was like 30 minutes. Good listen for, if you're on the way to work, or if you got free time or something. Take a listen to it, and it should be pretty. I think you'll enjoy it. What I want to talk about right now tonight was basically the media, and I'm going to say worldwide media, but I'm going to concentrate on our country media, and how media is basically the, what's that digit? What does digit want? Basically how media is the mouthpiece of the basically the leaders of the country, the majority leaders of the country. That's what media is, or that's what media will reflect, the mouthpiece of the ruling parties of the country that you live in. And a lot of the things that we see on the media today and yesterday, a lot of the things that you see, people shake their head, and some people will scream like fake news. That's been big lately. A lot of people point out the biases, the racial biases, um, the impurities, the slander in the media. There's a ton of it. A lot of it is indoctrinated in children through the media when we're young. For an example, like I went back and I started watching like old cartoons, like old Tom and Jerry cartoons. My kids are young and they like some of the stuff that I watch, so I started pulling out the old school stuff, and showing them like what entertainment was for me when I was their age. It's nice to see the contrast in like the entertainment like that kids have today versus what we had yesterday, and it's crazy, man. So we were watching stuff like that, and I saw something. I think I saw something. What did I see? I saw something that was like completely racist, and I was just like, oh my god, right? I was like, holy shit. So I started looking at racial implications with cartoons. And I started looking at it, and I started pulling up all this content that I remember seeing as a kid, and like Bugs Bunny, and stuff like that. And I'm just like, holy shit! There's so much blatant racism that is like put into those cartoons, and your children are watching it, and then you wonder why or how they were groomed to grow up and hate people, because it's been instilled since they were a little kid. You know what I mean? Like they've seen it subliminally, and they catch on to it, and you keep it. So when you meet somebody that was portrayed in that cartoon, and you meet somebody similar, you now have a preconceived notion of what that person is about, whether or not you should like them or hate them, all based on the indoctrination or the subliminal implanting of bias or racist material in everyday media. Your kids are watching it. You know what I mean? They're absorbing it. It's absolutely crazy. Another thing that we see with the media in terms of like news, like Fox News, NBC, all these news stations that we have that bring us daily news. If you sit back and you look, the news is comprised of about, I would probably say, to give it a fair rating, about 95% bad news, and the other 5% good news, right? So what do I mean by that? Whenever you watch the news, it should just be called bad news, because all they play over and over and over again are the evil atrocities that happen on a daily basis. Some people will say, well, they're just reporting the truth. And I would like to say that that's a loaded answer. They are reporting some truth, but they're reporting on an agenda. The media has always done that. They will continue to do that until they're stopped. For example, I know you guys heard about the shooting, one of the most recent shootings in that's happened in the United States not too long ago. I think it was last week. The Kroger shooting, the white gentleman. I'm calling him a gentleman. He's not a gentleman, but I'm gonna be tactful and respectful. The gentleman who killed a black brother and an older black sister in the parking lot. One in the store, I believe, and then one out in the parking lot. And when he was confronted by another white male with a gun. He told that white male, whites don't kill whites. What I feel, everybody can say, I've seen that, I saw what happened. But what the media chooses to show you versus what they choose to leave out is, I didn't see anything at all about the news talking about, or the specific news that were broadcasting the story. They didn't broadcast the entire thing. They didn't tell you that a black man, Dominic, actually pursued this male. He is a Second Amendment legal licensed firearm carrier. Black man, Dominic. I forgot his last name, but you can look it up. It was his son's birthday. He was with his wife and his kid. When he saw this was going down, he took it upon himself to take his weapon and to approach this man. They end up getting into a gunfight. That the white guy actually ended up fleeing the area during this gunfight, and that's when the cops arrived and they took him down. But the news has not really reported on it. Some news companies have reported on it. Most of them haven't. And you have to ask yourself, like, why? Why wouldn't they take the opportunity to uplift this individual who is a contributing member to society, a legal firearm holder, who is basically a hero, right? Why aren't they talking about this guy? Why isn't the NRA having this guy as the poster child on their website and on their soon to be upcoming campaigns? Why aren't they parading this guy around as the perfect example of why Americans deserve to own their own firearms? You have to ask yourself why, right? One of the reasons is, I believe, is the NRA doesn't want to do that. They don't want to give out the notion, or they don't want to give off the impression that black people can and should defend themselves. And if they have the capacity to do it, and they have the will to do it, to protect the public. They don't want you to actually believe that you need to be a licensed gun holder. They don't want you to think that. They don't want you to think that you need to protect yourself. Why do they not want you to think that? Because it's much easier to shoot you down, or to be justified of shooting you down, when a crime happens, or whenever they feel like killing you. You see what I'm saying? A lot of these situations happen because the media drives it. They drive home a point because they want a reaction from the public. You got to think about what they're showing you. And you got to ask yourself, why are they showing me this? A lot of the racial tension, they are very, very keen and very picky on what they show you. And I think honestly that it's a big baiting act when it comes to the media, especially with the racial tensions being so high. They just love to pour it on and show you, white on black violence from police to like I said, civilians on, civilian on civilian. They love showing it to you because they know the type of emotions that are generated by that type of news. You know what I mean? Like they know what it's doing, and they know it's festering. They know it's festering. Honestly, what I think the media is trying to do is they're trying to paint this story on Americans, and especially Black Americans, surrendering to the government. Basically, just don't fight back, don't question, don't do anything that would see you harmed, right? It's pretty bad, it's pretty sad, but again, the media will show you slight biases depending on the situation or the whatever the content that they're trying to show. But damn near for sure, the media doesn't want to show you about a black hero who helped prevent more people from getting killed that day in the Kroger's parking lot. And we can go on and on. The mass shootings that we see happening all over the country. Evil people. Some of them and most of them happen to be white. Going to churches, schools. All right, what's good? Oh, it looks like the stream cut out for a second. What were you saying, Bitstreamer? What's going on with Rainbow Six? You said something about a bunch of communist support, something like that. What were you saying, Bitstreamer? What's going on with Rainbow Six? You said something about a bunch of communist support, something like that. What were you saying, Bitstreamer? I don't know why it's doing that. That's weird. I don't know why it's doing that. Why it's showing. Why it's doing that echo. But anyway, like I was saying, like you'll see this stuff on the news, right? And you're wondering to yourself, why is it when it's a crazy, why is it when a crazy white person shoots up black people or shoots up anybody en masse? Why is it so hard for the media to condemn them with the type of condemnation that they deserve when these things happen? For example, when they shoot up black churches or shoot up anybody, they call these people lone wolves. They call them mentally ill. It's always a mental illness. They give themselves a cop-out right away because in this country, if you haven't noticed, as soon as you are black or Hispanic or Asian or Middle Eastern descent, as soon as anything like this happen, any type of domestic dispute, shooting, stabbing, anything that happens that involves anybody of color, the media wastes no time with crucifying you, calling you a terrorist, calling you a thug, making you less than human because you chose to do something that you could not have done. But when it's a white man or a white person doing it, killing people en masse, you see how they play the mental illness card very quickly. They're never terrorists. They're never anything that would warrant a bad member of society. The problem, they've wrapped it up very simply, packaged it, and they've called it mental illness. But they don't give you mental illness when you're a black man or Hispanic or anybody. They don't give you that luxury of giving you an out. No, they don't do that at all. So, and you can look at it and see that's exactly what happens. Like if you look at just recently with the synagogue shooting, right? Synagogue shooting happened. How long did it take the media to come out and call that guy a terrorist, right? How long did it take them to do that? It didn't take them very long. It didn't take them very long to call that man a terrorist. And you want to know why? Because he did it to Jews. He did it to Jewish people. And if there's one thing that you don't, there's one thing that you should know, and I don't mean this in any disrespect or fashion. Jewish people, or Jewish, I would say, the stronghold of the Jewish community on every aspect of everyone's life in any country is very, very strong. The stronghold they have is very, 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 very strong. Meaning that even in a racist country who can't stand even them, the powers to be have to step down and allow Jewish people to operate in the way that they want to operate. It's a power struggle at the top for the people who run the country. It's a power struggle. It's run by factions. And that was the biggest slap in the face, and it should have been the biggest eye-opener for every American out there, that when you heard them call this white man a terrorist, this man a terrorist. I'm going to say he's white because I'm pretty sure he identifies as white. He loves Trump. He's obsessed with Donald Trump. I think he had a Hispanic last. Did he have a Hispanic last name, or is this a different dude? Maybe I'm thinking of no. I'm thinking of the mail bomber. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the mail bomber. Was a Hispanic guy. I'm pretty sure he identifies as being white. And the reason why I say that is because I remember going to high school with people that were obviously Hispanic, obviously Mexican, even some black people. It's absolutely insane. Who you said, how do you identify? And they said, I'm white. And it goes that I'm telling you, man, the mental it is real mental illness. but they're giving it to the wrong people. But yeah, this man shot them people up, cold blood, and they gave him an out. No, they didn't give him an out. They call him a terrorist, because that's how angry the Jewish people were at somebody doing something like that. And the media had to comply, and they called him that. But if you look at another example that just recently happened with Don Lemon simply on air said, hey, look, if we break the statistics down and we look at the last 10 years, all of the mass shootings and mass casualty incidents that we've had in this country, if you break it down statistically, you will see that 70%, I think he said 76% of the incidents involving mass casualties in our country in the past 10 years have been committed by white people or white males. The 26% is coming from people of Arab descent. And he was just simply pointing out a fact that there is a huge power struggle and a huge war going on right now. And nobody, especially in the media, wants to address statistics. The United States is, when you look at the media, news media, has no problem with calling out or putting blame on anybody of color when it comes to mass shootings or incidents. They have no problem at all when it comes to crime with pointing others out. Mexicans are rapists and killers. Blacks are thugs and muggers, and so on and so forth. They're so quick and easily motivated to call anybody else out. But when they're so pissed off at Don Lemon right now because they just got another racist anchor off the air, Megyn Kelly. They just got her off the air, so they're pissed, right? How dare this black man and open his mouth and fix his mouth to say that white people are terrorists and the major terrorists in this country. How dare him even fix his mouth to even say something like that? See, they jumped on Don Lemon's ass. They said everything they could. How can a man who sleeps with another man or something like that, or a man who sleeps with another white man or something like that, how could he even fix his mouth to say some shit like that? But that goes to show you how angry they are when you call them out. You're not allowed to call white people who do terroristic acts in this country. You're not, even if they meet every piece of criteria on the checkbox to check off and to label them as terrorists, you're not allowed. No one is allowed to bring it up. No one is allowed to say or to identify white people as being an extremist or a fucking terrorist. What more proof do you need, America? One of the oldest organizations in this country, the KKK, is still allowed to prowl the streets, hold rallies, and be protected under the guise of a religious organization, so they can be allowed to not pay taxes and be allowed to still propagate and carry out hate. That would be the equivalent of Germany allowing the Nazi party or people who sympathize. My bad, guys. Anyways, we're back real quick. So as I was saying, yeah, you're not allowed to call out white people for anything that has to do with extremism. You're not allowed to call them out for being racist. You're not allowed to call them out for being terrorists. And this is the world that we live in. A lot of people will call that white privilege. I don't think it's white privilege. I think people that think in that kind of manner, they feel that to be their right. You know, like a birthright. Because we worked hard for them to build this country, for them to enjoy. Right? And anything that we perceive as, why don't you slow the fuck down, dude? This bitch is like speeding her ass off, man. Anything that you perceive as being, what do you call it? Privilege, to them it's right. It's their right. So, those are a few examples of how the media will portray, or they will show you what they want you to see. You know, think of it just like entertainment. When you watch a show, you know, do you watch sad shows? Do you watch happy shows? Do you watch funny shows? Do you watch serious shows? Do you watch, you know, fictional dramas, or do you watch something that's, that's as close to realistic as possible? Like, it all depends, right? The media shows you, they show you material based on how they want you to react to that material. So if they want to raise racial tension, then they show you content that will trigger the reaction they want. When they want you to vote, they show you content for certain people, for certain individuals, in a way that will make you think a certain type of way, right? So, the media really is the mouthpiece. The only difference with our country versus like a country like England is that they're still a monarchy. They do have a parliament, but I guess there's really not much difference. I was going to say, I think the only difference is that in our country, the actual power struggle the power is shared by a majority, like a mass majority. That majority is broken down further into factions, and it's always a struggle. There's many different people jockeying for power all the time. And so you will see in the media, for example, you will see a mix of this power struggle. You'll see people that are trying to put out good things. You'll see people trying to put out good things for everybody. You'll see the media put out bad things. It all depends on the agenda. So keep in mind when you're watching that, when you're watching the news or you're watching any kind of media, what they're putting out. They don't want you to read. They don't want you to really educate yourself. They want you to obey. That's all they really want. They want you to obey. That's why it's easy for that. Going back to when I was talking to you about like religion, and when you talk about religion and even history itself, if you think back to what they taught you in school about history, of your state or whatnot in the country, it's very tailored. It's a tailored curriculum. They're not telling you the entire truth. They're just telling you what they want you to know, because they want to shape you. So at a very young age, like I was saying with the media, they show you things. They fill you up. They fill up your vessel. It's easier when you're a child to be able to take things for to teach you things, or to absorb subliminal knowledge or subliminal criteria, subliminal content that will shape your mindset. They know this. Psychologic. They know how to do that. They know what they're doing. So you really got to watch what your kids watch. You really got to watch what you take in, and to help protect yourself. Become aware. Become aware of your surroundings. Be really aware. When you're in the matrix, it's hard to know what's real and what's not, because to you it just looks like normal day life. Something has to happen to you in order for you to actually realize that something's not right. And everybody has that moment in their life at some point. But when you do, what will you do? Some people get scared and they say, nah, I'm just going to keep living the way I'm living, because trying to think about the real shit is too hard. It's too much, overwhelming, and it is overwhelming. When I talk about religion and stuff like that with my wife and just people in general, that's usually the catalyst or usually the trigger for a lot of people to begin to distance themselves from you, because what you're doing at that moment is you have already planted a seed, a truthful seed. You planted a seed that now gives them plausible deniability or plausible doubt, right? Meaning that I can say something to you and you're a fairly intelligent person. I can say something to you that makes complete logical sense. And when your brain starts to process it, it registers as that. It says, that makes sense. Let me look it up. For most people, that may scare you because it now challenges your belief mechanism. Well, you've been taught to believe a certain thing for so long that belief in your mind trumps logic. And so what you have is you have a bunch of people out here running around that actually believe the shit that they're talking about. They believe what the religion or whatever it is that that they've been brought up in. They believe it. They don't have time for logic because now logic, they've surpassed logic. They're into belief. So that's why I always say belief is very, very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing. When you believe in something instead of knowing something, when you believe in something, it could drive you to commit the most heinous of crimes against humanity or yourself and others. It really can. Belief can have you make some crucial bad mistakes in judgment. Belief can do those things. So in my first video that I was talking about, I was telling people, I said, you know what? Question everything. I should have followed that up with, don't doubt yourself. Question everything, but never doubt yourself. Because you were born as an intelligent person to discern, to know how to tell the truth, to know how to lie. Remember, nobody had to teach you how to lie. It just came out natural when you were young. So you got to really question everything with logic, because God created you to be a knowledgeable human being. So when you go and listen to the governments of the world, people that tell you this is that, this ain't this, you know, when they start to tell you this BS about life, and you get that inkling, like as soon as you get that sensation of, that don't sound right, you know, that sounds suspicious, maybe I should look it up, that doesn't sound right? You should then immediately look it up, immediately do some research to find out how much sense it makes or how much sense it don't make, right? A lot of these people, a lot of the big debates that I like having is fun because when we talking about flat earth and globes and all that stuff, I always say that in the end, none of us have attempted to go up there. When we're talking about globe or flat earth, none of us have attempted to go up there. We have to rely on scientists that we have no idea who they are, that work for the governments. We have to rely on what they tell us what we should believe. And again, governments don't ask you. They're not asking you. Just like when you go to a church or you go to some kind of religious, you try to join some religious organization or something. They don't ask you to come in and think. They ask you to come in, be open, and to believe. They need believers. They don't want thinkers, because thinkers will cause the doctrine, will question the doctrine. It will question the doctrine, and when you question doctrine, then they have to come up with more lies to figure out how to get you back into belief mode. So when the government is telling you, I always say when the government is telling us, oh, we're on a globe, I simply just say, guys, all you got to do is look at history. Look at your history. Look at our ancestors and see what they said. Up until 500 something years ago, the Earth was flat. It was a plane. Everything that we use on the Earth talks about the Earth as if it was in a plane state, not a globe state. Look at the things that they said about the Earth. You see, on one hand, scientists are smart. They try to tell you, when they're doing all this research, they try to tell you on one hand that our ancestors had so much knowledge, but in the same breath, they try to discredit them and tell you that they knew nothing, that they were idiots. Basically, that's what they try to tell you. All that in the same breath, that's what they'll try to tell you. So you have to do your own research and discern what sounds like bullshit and what doesn't. You know what I mean? So I always argue. I always get into fun arguments with that subject because, in my opinion, when you do some of the actual science that they've taught us since we were little kids about the Earth being a globe, when you actually try to carry out some of that science to make sense of it yourself instead of just saying, "Oh, they told me 1 + 1 is 1. Let me see how it really works." When you start trying it for yourself, you realize something ain't right. Something's not adding up. But they tell you to believe it because they're the experts. You're not the expert, even though you have intelligence. They're human just like you are. Use your intelligence, right? They don't want you to think. So, it is what it is. You dig? It is what it is. But again, question everything, but never doubt yourself. That's why I want to get into question everything, guys. Everything. I honestly think that if you want to call yourself a Christian or a Muslim or any of these religious organizations that if you want to belong to any one of these organizations, there's nothing wrong with it, but you should be able to have the courage to question the doctrine. You should have courage to be able to question the things that you're being taught. A lot of the things that are being taught with religion, I don't disagree with. I disagree with how they teach it. Same with the media. The world we live in is actually a beautiful place. There's a lot of good things and a lot of good people from every ethnic background out there who do things positive on a daily basis. So you have to ask yourself, why are social networks and media so obsessed with only showing you negativity? Why? Media is powerful. And whoever controls media really controls the people. Now, before a lot of you call bullshit and all this and that, I will tell you one thing. In the military, I went to train as a PSYOP warrior. If you don't know what PSYOP warrior is, if you don't know what PSYOP is in the military, then you need to look it up. It's not BS. It's for real. And once you get the gist of what they do, you'll begin to understand the things that, and you'll be able to begin to understand the things that you see on a daily basis that you never thought twice about before. That's all I'm going to say about that. All I'm going to say is that I know for sure that the government and media operate in such a way to help steer people into believing what they need them to believe. So, with that said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Make sure you leave your comments below, and I will definitely respond. All right, guys, catch you.